Hello.
Hello? Hey, Richard, how's it going,
Hello.
man?
Oh, hi. Oh, it's
Hey there.
we're online.
Yeah, yeah. Bruce, are you here?
Hi guys, yep.
Hey, all right, man.
Yep. Sorry I missed y'all yesterday, but had some things going on.
Ah, no problem. No problem.
Hey there,
Hello.
guys. I'll
Hello?
be um I'll be muted a little bit in the first part. I still have my dinner to
To
finish.
attend to? Okay. All right.
I'll be
What time?
listening.
What time is it there?
It's 6 now.
Okay. Okay. Got it.
Good morning, everyone. I'm on the line.
All right. Robert
Ain't
Senior.
Oh,
that good, huh?
Is this
I
really?
know how to
Is this
turn it
really
on.
Robert Hawthorne?
Yes, it is Robert Hawthorne, and I heard Edo. Hello, Edo.
Hi again, Bob.
Oh, Bruce, you're on too. Geez, you went from one phone to the other. We just talked a half an hour. Okay. Hey, I'm still on my way to Vernal running down the road. I'm just going to sit here and listen. Is that good?
That's good.
Sounds good.
Okay, impress me, guys.
Oh, I'll just start sharing here, and we could kind of get into some of the things that are happening. One of the things Edo brought up was kind of interesting. Just talking about SpaceX. Was Alan Weisbecker, I guess. Pretty.
Respect.
Yeah, pretty interesting. But he was talking about like there's so much bubbling around on many things on the internet, and they're kind of they're charged, etc. But he's uh, kind of a independent journalist. Let me see if I can find. Yeah, I got him here. So he's talking about SpaceX, and there's a group of characters that he includes in this, and he's kind of calling them all shills and stuff. So, but
Before I continue chewing and all, he is not a stranger to the EU. He visited the EU at 2015, I think. That's where I met him.
hmm
And he's more or less an independent researcher, but he does name names. And he put Wall and Crothers on the suspect list. There you go.
yeah, yeah. So anyways, is it worthy of some discussion because they have such high profile. I've been following this. They put Linda Moulton Howe in there too, but I've seen Joseph Farrell talking, and I've seen this the dark journalist stuff. It's really interesting, but this is certainly a kind of scathing critique of all of them. And he's an interesting character. Ito shared with me a couple things. I should bring this up because you're reading, you're eating, but it's in the current meetup chat. It might be worth taking a scan at. So, but it's kind of exciting to see like these independent journalists pop up, and then you kind of get to make your own choice on things, you know. And it's always, I think, good to discuss them because there's a lot of charge around them. He's basically saying SpaceX is it's all 2001 Stanley Kubrick, etc.
He's actually quite a good writer and all that. He has quite a resume.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. So yeah, and just going through some of the things going on with real time rendering. Pretty interesting. Been playing around with this is an interesting one. We got the pipeline on this, but uh, this is showing uh, indirect lighting. You can kind of see like how the bouncing like the light colorations are bouncing off the wall there on that sphere in the middle. Nice reflections, etc. So this is WebGL, and it's JavaScript. So it's really nicely responsive. So we've been just kind of diving into that recently. Sketchfab is here's a virtual museum. They're starting to put these up with very nice renderings. So kind of see. I was looking at a couple of these before. Oh, this bird here. You can kind of see the closeness of the textures that you can get into. You see how they do the feathering and stuff. So really nice detail and just exploration of,
Wow.
ornithology. Really nice, right? So these are some of the technologies that are coming on. I wonder if they got a pin in there. Is that a pin or something? So, and
I'm good to go whenever you're ready.
oh, all right. So we want to go
Awesome.
to we
Just
want to
let me
go
know.
to
So I'm just gonna hop right in and be like, introduce myself and what it is.
mhm.
So, all right. Hello, welcome to the first ever Electric View Route 2 News, where we take the current news and look at it from an electric point of view. I'm Buddy James, and this is March 12th, 2019 report. All right, starting first off, we have at the top of the news here, if you go to the top of the news, we have this link here, and if you follow this link, it's very interesting, pertaining to the electric universe and
you don't
technology.
have to be exposed to radiation.
Now, inside here, it is talking about trans-species humans that are actually changing our species, which is what, transhumanism is. So there's like androids. These individuals are like superhero androids. And going through briefly, last year there was a discovery where we found out how birds can actually see the magnetic grid. Before that, we didn't know exactly how they got around and knew, we thought it was magnetite inside of their brain, but now we know that they can see it. So one of these guys inside of this episode came up with this chest. He put an implant in his chest that connects to the internet, but also guides his direction north. So it's north facing. Talk about becoming Borealis.
Yeah, sure.
But so it's north facing, and every time he faces north, he gets a little vibration, tiny little vibrations. He can turn it on and off, but the implications of that is huge, because then if everybody gets that implant, or even a certain amount of people, we would have that sense as well. Then there's an ear inside of an arm. That one's pretty cool, where he's accessed to the internet, and it's a real ear that was grown and modified and put onto his ear, and everyone can tap into it and hear him live stream 24/7. It doesn't turn off. And he's a guitarist, so he wanted to spread his message to the world. Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
So that's weird. There's let's see, a brain chip that allows you to move objects anywhere in the world when the object is connected to the brain chip. So they're moving, and you can feel the amount of weight that you lift in China from over here in Michigan, with this chip in your brain. So it allows you to access that as well. That's just a few things on this episode. And if you want to hop out, or anybody have any comments, we can talk about that. But this stuff's strange.
Really interesting. Yeah, the push for transhumanism is,
It's absolutely disgusting.
They actually took the name human out of it, and they're calling it trans species now.
Oh.
So.
Yeah, either way, I'm not a big fan of it either.
So that's that for now. We can hop back into the news and see what else we got on the palette here.
Yeah, no, this is a nice discussion point actually to start with. But I've seen it since with Kurzweil and his catapulting to prominence in the software world, and music, and then also AI and all the stuff, and then longevity. Watched him fairly up close and personal, So.
Yeah, we are in it. We are getting connected like we've never been connected before. That's for sure.
What's the ramification of it, and what's the agenda?
Which one? I mean, all of this stuff is amazing. There's a guy who has an antenna attached to his brain that allows him to see all colors, and he's also attached to the internet, and he can see information as vibrations, and he can access different websites with his head and with this antenna, and literally go through their cryptic information and do all sorts of biohacking.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy.
I call bullshit. Sorry.
That they can't do it?
I'm not buying that
You're
one.
saying-
No.
Oh, he's hooked directly to satellites.
I think you can do it.
He's hooked
Actually,
directly to satellites.
I think those the encephalographs that they have. There's a lot that has been done with those.
I wonder what would happen if like we had another Carrington event or like a Charlemagne event with all these people that are getting low-jacked. Would we have an episode like in the movie Kingsman where all the heads are blown up and stuff?
And all sorts of stuff is crazy and inverted. This guy's cool. He can control his breathing, and he has like 26 world records. People who studied him tried to debunk him, but then instead incorporated their method into their lifestyles. It's a breathing. That's all. He controls everything. Walks up Mount Everest with a t-shirt and shorts on.
Through breathing.
Through breathing, just breathing, and it cures all sorts of ailment, all sorts of problems that are wrong with humans. So.
Is he like after that mystic tradition and studying like deep yoga and that kind of thing, or is it something else?
I'm not really sure, but he can go in freezing cold water for like 2 hours, 2.5 hours. He just holds all these records. Breathing is all it is, he says. I'm not sure his background before that though.
It's a Dutch dude, and yes, he's been lying in ice water for a very long time already. Decades he's been training.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Do you know about him, Edo?
Yeah, like I said a few decades ago,
Mm-hmm.
he became famous in the Netherlands because he was a guy that in the winter, when the ice is on the ponds and whatnot, he went for a swim of 15 minutes or something.
Okay.
And then he started swimming underneath the ice in Finland in winter time for God knows how many meters or how long and whatever. That's all I know.
Okay. Interesting.
So we can hop back into the news channel if you want.
Yeah.
Because there's plenty of stuff to cover, and there's a lot going on globally.
One thing though, buddy.
Yeah.
It's Route 2. Route 2 is a strategic withdrawal.
Route. It's something we can move around on. It's got a lot of latitude, so it's also square root of 2, which is irrational. So
yeah, but you're still going to use route. A route is still considered a strategic withdrawal, and with the split and all between the two shows, I don't really want to sound like it's
you could route the enemy though, right?
Yeah, I don't want to do that.
Okay, all right, yeah, me neither.
There's no need for that.
Yeah, I agree.
Thank you for the correction. Duly noted.
So
what do we got here? What's this guy?
Sorry, back on that.
Apparently they found liquid water on the moon, and the moon is now in the atmosphere of the Earth. What does that mean? What's the implications of this from an electrical perspective?
The moon is in the atmosphere of the Earth.
Yes, they announced that last week that the atmosphere, our atmosphere now, the moon is no longer in outer space or space; it's in our atmosphere. And
the atmosphere further out.
What are they talking about?
I'm not sure exactly how they calculate what atmosphere means, but we've been talking lately. There's been releases about how much actual atmosphere leaves our planet every day and how it's recompensated. So it's an open system, and it's not as much a closed system like we once thought. I know there's bacteria and all sorts of different living organisms inside of space above our old atmosphere, what used to be our atmosphere. They detect it on satellites and stuff like that. So does this mean that this liquid water that they just announced like 2 days ago that they discovered on the moon, could that be thriving with extremophiles, and possible life.
Well, I mean, what's their evidence? I mean, there was one article that came out that said, "Oh yeah, Mars used to have water," and it was total nonsense. It was, the data they showed was really evidence of the electric formation of the electric geology stuff, where they interpreted it as their water having been there. So what's their evidence for the moon having water?
I'd like to know that too. I haven't gotten deep into the research of it. That's something that we'd have to look into, or I just kind of mention these and see if anybody's privy to some of the news or might be able to clarify any of the information.
Yeah, do you have a reference to where you were picking up on that?
Water on the moon, I'm sure you could just Google it.
Yeah.
But it was a mainstream source that I saw it on. I think it was just yesterday or the day before. But I'm more curious about the atmosphere the moon being in it now. What does that mean?
Moving water. I'll be there. Okay.
Yeah, moving water on the moon. That's water. I mean, it could be frozen into some super cold type of water. I know they have that. I know that pressure, water underneath glaciers gets so much pressure on it that the ice turns back into water because it's pressurized, and it's super cooled water or something. There's a name for it. But yeah, so these are just a few things going on. I saw Edo post something about no atmosphere to the moon. What was that?
Yeah, I think that's what Robert was alluding to. If you start to boil water under a huge glass container, and you start pumping out the air, and the water starts, and the more you pump out, the lower the temperature is that the water starts to boil. So if there's no atmosphere, what does that do to liquid water? I mean,
I was saying it would cause it to boil and not freeze or become solid.
Yeah, so how can there be liquid water on the moon? I find that quite hard to imagine.
More solid, yeah.
The Lyman Alpha Mapping Project, that's what they're referring to in those articles. So.
I gave a presentation, or actually presented it physically in front of a bunch of high school students, where you pump down a chamber with water in it, and it boils, but then it's losing heat through the boiling process, and so it will freeze, even though you're boiling it.
I had an idea to put a big mirror on the so-called dark side on the other side of the moon, so we could look at the mirror and shine light at it, or see the other side of the moon. Like
like when you get your hair cut.
Yeah, exactly. Look at the back of the moon.
The back of your head, yeah.
Be kind of cool. If actually China's gonna make an artificial moon, which they're already in the process of fabricating, and they're going to do it. They're in the process of doing this, so that they can have light at night, and so the social credit score can further monitor the motions of its people. So I got about 5 more minutes of lunch, and then I'm back to painting.
Very good. Thank you very much, buddy. It was nice little like a kickoff.
I think to continue. Look at the page, because there's plenty of content that I've been putting up there. That's all recent. So
right. I think it's a nice way to break into like discussions and as we get things moving forward, we'll get more. We'll see how things fit with the dynamics of the group and everything, and then the guests. Oh, the one thing that Laird Scranton, is that still going to happen? Do you think?
I believe that's going to be on this show and not the other one, or whatever else is going on.
Whatever happens, that's great. It would be great to have him, and I personally would really enjoy talking to him.
I think so. It's Tuesday. That's his availability, and he's ready for it. The 26th.
Okay.
As far as I see. Yeah.
So that's 2 weeks, right? Yeah. 2 weeks from now.
I've been talking with him, so he's ready.
Okay, great. Excellent.
It's his birthday today.
Laird Scranton? Okay, happy birthday, Laird.
Oh, yeah.
Nice. Okay. Very cool.
Cool.
So,
all right.
Enjoy yourself.
I'll be muted unless I pop in every once in a while.
Mm-hmm. I have something down here. All the way
The
down.
Upheaval Dome, though, I like the way he had drawn these Earth. Giovanni calls these things Earth, air, atmosphere circuits.
Uh-huh. Right.
In other words, yeah, and he was drawing them, you know, and he was drawing the close relationships to these features. These
Right. He sees these returns a lot, you know. I mean, it's that kind of. Let me see if I can get back here. This one's certainly getting a lot of, just as far as like the popular consciousness, etc. But you know, interpreting this as a return, you know.
Yeah.
Right. And then seeing that
I
pattern.
thought I noticed one yesterday when you right by Upheaval Dome.
Yeah, right. We were looking at that. We can go there too. Yeah.
There usually seems to be a river associated with it, or some type of water too.
Right. I mean, this meander pattern, you know, in tight relationship with the Lichtenberg. See that a lot, and I'm just wondering, like the plasma formation does this too. You know, you can see the meander in there, and depending on frequencies and stuff, is that duality there is really interesting to me.
So, where does he tie the Upheaval Dome?
Where was he had the return there? Do you know where it is, Robert?
I think it was up and to the left somewhere, but it looked not that far out. Not to go further in. I'm not sure. I think it was across the river though, maybe up in that northern plain.
That's an interesting one there.
Yeah.
Oh, and then it's because it's the inversion too. I don't.
When he gets flood, I think that's the extra runoff area there.
Okay.
What I'm talking about there, it is the spire.
Where?
At the middle of the flat up in the top corner, top left corner, there's a dot right in the center of that. I think that's the one I was talking about.
Up here?
Right below where the cursor was.
Oh.
Right in the center, right there. Off to the right a little bit, no. Up.
This?
Yeah, I think that was what the.
Uh-huh.
I think that's.
Oh, see, yeah, look at that. It's interesting, right?
Kind of like mirrors it because the other one throws it. It has that arc coming out at almost the opposite angle.
Wow. And then this coming in.
That's a place we could go look at.
That would be awesome. Yeah.
I don't see many roads that go out there. You might have to do a little hiking or four-wheeling, but
you got the 20. Well, there's the 25 right there, off to the left of it.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah.
So off to Three Fingers, we'd have to turn left there, and then head towards the Canyonlands. And that's just nothing but a huge plateau out there, isn't it?
There's probably some BMR dirt roads out there you can drive along.
Probably.
I was wondering if there's anything in Idaho, because I think I'm going to go to that science technology festival and see.
Oh, cool. With Eric Dollar.
Yeah. And I think that might be a good meetup, and we could have a little booth there. It's a little bit of money, but they offer a booth space and like possible presentations in the back rooms.
Uh-huh.
So.
Yeah, that's
might
great
be a
idea.
good spot.
It's a great idea. I actually did a reservation for myself on that one. So,
when is that?
What's that?
I said, when is the thing in Idaho?
In July, I think. What is it?
I'm interested in the topology too around the area for geography. It's energy and technology.
There it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
There we go. ESTC. But what's the date on this? Let's see.
Energy science. Okay.
There's only 150 attendees only. So, where's the date? July 11th, 12th, 13th, and 14th. So that would be an interesting one for sure, because they're all kind of they've got he's certainly got legendary status at this point, and just for the entertainment value alone. You know, so.
Well, after that conference might be the good time to meet up out there in Utah or
That would be
something.
great. Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It's a nice window of time from now to kind of make it happen. You know. So just wondering, Bruce, like if you were to go here, since I'm a neophyte with all this, what would be like the testing that we'd want to accomplish to kind of be able to shore up the hypotheses we were proposing?
The testing, huh? Well, I guess we would need to find some fused rocks if we were going to find the electrical stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So you're looking for fusing.
You also probably want to look for those Lichtenberg patterns in the slick rock. Because Neil and I traced those and found that a really big shitstorm one time. Like one of those canyons.
Yeah, we found that huge amount of fused rock with the petrified wood and everything all jumbled together. Basically a conglomerate that was all fused together.
Right.
That could be a modern process, you know, that it could be repeated lightning strikes because it was ground into that creek. Remember how it ground into the creek, and you could follow that conglomerate down into a well that basically was in a hole in the creek. We could find some more stuff like that. I don't know what what kind of experiment we could run. Maybe Andy had looked. He had a handheld magnetometer. There was an app on his phone that he was using, and it kind of indicated magnetic properties of the rock. I don't know that these would show magnetic properties, but glass, mostly glass. Really.
Right. That whole idea of like the analcime is really compelling. Just as far as like how that process, what causes that process? Can you recreate that process in the lab?
The idea, my understanding is it was some clays that basically were electrified or fused and traveled in the air as bombs, like a lava bomb.
Uh-huh.
And then when they land, they actually have the impression of whatever they land on. If you roll them over, you'll find the rocks and pebbles still stuck in the bottom of them. So it's something that was melted and congealed after it touched down. It looks like it was somewhat congealed, and then when it hit the ground, it finally totally congealed.
Right.
And it spins out from these from the theory is that it spins out of that upheaval dome area, but there may be other places it comes from. But that's the idea that Wesley, the guy that originally found it, that was his idea.
Right. Yep.
And there may be.
We also saw how with Jacob Gable's work, how it's like that streamer digs right in and starts throwing everything everywhere, or when it actually stops, then there's that recoil and it just blows out. It's thrown everywhere. That could have been, but that would show that it's all around Upheaval Dome, which it's really not. It's all like in one spot, so that could have been more of a throw, a focused throw.
Yeah, Wesley never really showed us where he found it that I don't know where that mine is. Do you, Rob?
I know where one of them is. I know where one of the sites is. The other site I still haven't found, but Dad knows where it's at. He's been there once before. So.
I know the one there on the highway that he took us to that day. Weren't you with us that day? So maybe we could, you've heard of the butterfly effect. There could be something like 180 degrees on the other side that we could go look for. If we could find a pattern of that stuff. So those are some ideas, but as far as proving it, don't know how you would prove it or experimentally.
Mm-hmm. There's
Well, there is like I have an idea that if those coronal loops are actually what's carrying most of it, and it was just getting thrown randomly. The focus of it would be wherever that return was, and it just smashed right back into the ground, which would mean there's like a mountain of it somewhere.
I mean, this looks like a strong. This one here, some type of return. So I mean, the one that the visual that comes to mind, and we discussed those I think on Monday a little bit, but the like the Costa Rica spheres and all the spherical things that form that you also see kind of in arc welding, etc.
Yeah, it could also be
the
just
scalar idea, looking at things scalarly is a kind of a compelling, kind of maybe new narrative, perhaps.
Like the arches in National Arches as being like a giant fulgurites.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just right on the other side of the river. So.
Yeah, these geometries, and I'm just wondering if the getting Andy involved, perhaps.
Yeah, he said I got an email saying he was interested.
Awesome.
But it's all about timing. So as long as
from what I've seen, Andy is gonna likely to be in England at the conference.
Oh, right.
Awesome.
What's the date? The date those are happening simultaneously, right?
What?
The conference in Bath, right? We immediately have a schedule conflict there, right? One of the things I ran into, they were planning that conference in Denver last year, but I stumbled upon someone looking at all the iconography in Denver Airport, and it was pretty wild, what they put in there, and it was very, very curious as to why they might use that stuff. So, but have you seen that?
It's the backup site. If Washington gets nuked, they got an underground. It's my hearing, what I've heard. They got an underground facility there for the government to move into when Washington is in fire. That's just one of many theories. Yeah, and the pictures they have on the walls there are, people in gas masks.
Right. This is what I read into. That's what I read into. Yeah.
Oh, you can. Yeah, I got pictures of them.
Yeah.
It's not really a theory. I met an electrician that worked down there on that area. He says it's quite extensive.
It's out in the middle of nowhere. I mean, they could dig tunnels out for miles and not be underneath anything. It's just empty fields.
Right. There's all these like this. What's this doing there? It's particularly disturbing.
Yeah, that's weird. Yeah, that is wow. Got a big sword and an AK.
Yeah, and then with the dove.
That mural's probably 25, 30 feet long on the inside of one hallway, right in the middle of where the main floor is in the airport.
Wow.
Yeah,
I remember seeing that.
It was amazing, really. I have to see if I can find anything. Yeah, here. Yeah, they've got the Masonic things.
Yeah, apparently there's no no such thing as an international airport, and some news that came out this week is that there's a gargoyle inside of the Denver airport, and it actually speaks and watches what you do and mimics you and has a conversation with you. And it says, welcome to the headquarters of the Illuminati.
Yeah. I've been to Denver Airport a couple of times now. I don't think I ever witnessed that one.
As a goof, it's there, or what they're saying that's
there now. It's there right now.
Oh, it's a real gargoyle. A real gargoyle, like a living gargoyle.
Yeah.
Wow.
I never heard of a living one.
It's a mechanical, like a puppet.
Okay. Like someone's doing it as a goof, or.
It's part of the whole thing, and they took down all the murals, and they're reconstructing, and all the reconstruction signs say Illuminati and it's a conspiracy, or is it? And playing into the whole conspiracy of the thing. So all those murals are down, and they're currently doing something else right now.
He's got that sword shoved up that dove's booty.
Yeah, absolutely.
What is that? A baby?
Yeah, I mean, it's wild iconography. It's like, what is it doing here? And I've seen, I mean, just to kind of tie things together a little bit, it's very reminiscent of like the same artist, and at the UN. Let's see, I'll pull this one up. UN mural. This is like the center meeting, like the inner circle. This is a very large mural, but like where they have the meetings, almost a la what was that Kubrick film, the famous one where they're sitting around the big round table. But at the UN, this is actual, right? But this is what sits behind them. It's like, what is this doing at the UN? In this big inner circle round table thing. So, and this is public. This is not something that's like conspiratorial. That's actually how they do it. So.
Only the artist knows, I guess.
But I don't think so. I think that's there's art like that. I mean, it's not just some. We'll just let them put something up, and we'll just humor them. I think there's a lot of meaning in the symbology that they all, or at least the powers that be decide, because imagery is powerful. So.
I don't know who follows Q out there, but he keeps saying that their symbolism and their imagery like this is going to bring them down. Because they're wearing it on their hands, they wear it around their neck. It's easy. It's easy to see all the Hollywood actors that give the
right. I mean,
they're not hidden.
It seems one of the rules I think for it is it has to be in plain sight. Hidden in plain sight is the famous line, and it seems to be that from my perspective, it's like the hidden is going away.
Well, and it's this kind of channel. It's the internet that has opened this up.
All of a sudden, it's an eyeball looking back at them, and you start seeing the pattern.
Yeah, they used to control all media. Well, they don't control the internet, and they can't now. They can't shut it down because it will shut down all commerce. They're stuck with it.
Right.
Oh, hang on. Mute James Sorensen. Yeah, continue.
What, you muting me? Oh.
I'm trying to joke here.
No, I love
somebody's
this.
listening in. It's Stasi practice these days. The amount of control and.
Our conversations are being recorded, and that they translate this. I mean, this Electric Universe group, and what we're doing they're listening to us.
Yeah, no, but this is it's like. Their numbers are so small compared to like the voice of everyone. Our numbers are it's like the 1% of the 1% of the 1% of the 1% of the 1% that are attempted to control this whole thing. And it's like they can't do it because all of a sudden the eyeball that was intended to look at all of us is looking directly back at them, and I think that's an unexpected result. Thing.
Well, I think they're in a position where they can't hardly send an email to each other. They have to get together and talk in person because, like him or not, the president controls the most extensive listening systems and surveillance systems on the planet, and these guys can no longer hide from it.
But it's too much information. It's
That's what the artificial intelligence is all about.
But I don't. It's pattern recognition, I mean, and then how do you slice and dice it? I look at like what the DSM is. It's the Diagnostic and Statistic Manual, where they've broken down. It's like 5 volumes of this slicing up any type of pathology that you can imagine and labeling it. And it's the cornerstone book that you have to have if you're a psychologist, and globally, of course, right? But the approach is just a profusion of names for things, and then so you can pathologize someone and put them in a little box, and this is ultimately their approach, and I think it fails because it doesn't go down to the fundamental. There's often a lot of these things you can find a fundamental that ultimately ties them all together. So anyway, that's my opinion on that. Yeah. So anyway, that's really interesting with the like I said, Denver airport stuff. I'd never seen any of that, and it's another one where it's like, what is going on here? And they did the same thing at CERN. CERN, they had that whole big ritual at the opening. Let me see if I can find this.
Well, they have
I remember.
the Hindu god outside as a statue, I believe.
Yeah, Shiva, I think.
Shiva.
Yeah. So, right.
Well, I think you got to think of like the superconducting semi or super collider that they attempted to build in Texas, and they built all these underground tunnels.
Yeah.
They lined up cement. They put in all this crap, and then they shut the project down, and it's not being used. Ah, yeah, right.
How did that? I mean, I remember seeing it in the mainstream, and it's like, how could that happen? Oh, lost funding,
Well, and they built the structure, and they managed to get the structure built. They didn't put in much equipment in, but now they have this underground structure. I think anytime you see a public works project like or whatever they call it, that's massive like that gets canceled, you have to figure out what really happened. Right. Did it really get canceled, or was that just a front to have trucks going in and out for a year or two? But now that they got it built, they can be private. We don't need to know what's going on there, right?
It's this movement into the the private. It's still global and it's under one umbrella, but they get even more latitude by saying private. This this private space program, but I mean,
Even they're in
just like Facebook's a private enterprise, right?
Yeah, I mean, how tied to the NSA can you possibly be? So we can go back to it's a little. This will, I imagine, because it's so much of the kind of underpinning of what we get exposed to, etc. But some interesting things as far as like biological. This image, electrical stuff. This one has been playing, and I continue to watch it because I think there's a lot of information in this thing. And these are kidney cells. Gotta turn the audio off there. But certainly seeing some very interesting action there from my standpoint. And I'd like to model and explore this further.
Definitely have the axial and radial effect there on that one.
Yeah, and you can see you see the vorticity in there.
Yeah.
It looks electrical to me.
Yeah, definitely.
Totally looks like mitosis. Is this meiosis, whatever, mitosis?
Right.
And that totally looks like an electric field pulling those things away.
Yep.
And then you start looking at the structures like afterwards, and there's an acceleration and then a deceleration, and then boom, where that peak acceleration, that's where the split happens. But then you start looking at these patterns, and you start seeing, maybe it's my extreme confirmation bias, but you start seeing things that look very much like currents, Lichtenberg patterns, potentially Birkeland currents, that kind of thing going on in this vibration and stuff.
It's split three ways.
That one does, yeah.
Like a fly circuit in the middle of it there. Had that flux capacitor look. Huh?
Right.
The three-way one did. Play that three-way one again.
Yeah. Let's get back to it. There we go.
Right there. Look at that Y circuit.
Yeah, right.
Right there. Bam.
Wow, that's awesome.
I think this is. I mean, the
See the delta and the Y over. See the delta on the poles
And the Y in the middle.
like the triangle on the green part and the Y on the red.
So this is happening trillions of times in our body all the time,
all the
right?
time, right? But but to me, it's the same. It feels like the same pattern. You know,
It's rich and it's electric. That's for sure.
Yeah. So this was kind of the cornerstone piece of Eugene's talk at Observing the Frontier, but it's the scalar thinking. There's those by 9 orders of magnitude each time. That seems to be where you get the repetition.
So if the red are the chromosomes, what's the green?
This I need to study this. It's just such a compelling video that
The red is indeed the chromosomes, the DNA material, and the green are protein fiber structures that are attached to the chromosomes and pull them apart. And there's a central node at the end, the tip, if you will, where those fibers go to, and that has a name too, but I long forgot what the names were. But from those two polar tips, the fibers go to the DNA material and they pull it apart, if you will. And there's a whole bunch of processes happening. But the green are fibers, proteins.
Yeah, they're
energized. Yeah.
They might be proteins as we call them, but they look to me like they're conductors.
Yeah.
Well, in my book, all chemistry is kind of like an electrostatic spiel, right? It's sharing of what we call the electron, which is an electron charge, and one electron is shared between two atoms. That's chemistry, and this is biochemistry, a little bit higher in size, in level, if you will. But yeah, chemistry you can totally see as an electric phenomena, if you will.
This to me is one of the things after studying science and being enthused by it my whole life, to all of a sudden at the age of like 45 or 50 find out that chemistry is electric, and it was never taught that way.
Right.
It's a charge, but it's not electricity. It's not. And the same with pH. To find out that pH is measurement of electric charge, that just blew my mind.
And then it all ties together into the fundamental action. And this is.
Well, it's actually quite logical. pH, as you know, is H3O plus, the H plus one. Yeah.
I know it's logical.
And the OH minus, and that's a charge level. The more OH minus I have, the more negative it becomes. So yeah, put in a multimeter, if you will, and voila. If you have it calibrated towards the pH level, of course. Yeah, that's it.
Cool.
The chemical dance of love, birds mating.
Yeah,
and
it's got a lot of that going on.
It's the exact same. It's the exact same thing.
Right.
It's all electric. It's not chemical. Like they want us to think it's all chemical.
I put that on my dating profile. All you women are out there looking for the right chemistry. You don't realize it's the right.
It's the right electricity. Yeah.
That's magnetic attraction.
Electricity acts across distance. What do you mean? It's chemical.
Right. Cool. So, what do you think? Should we make it a little short? I think these work better when it's like about an hour or a little bit more instead of these long extended ones. Then we have time to. It doesn't disturb the day. If anyone wants to continue, that would be fine. But would.
I like that idea.
I agree, because I think if we know we have 3 hours to ramble, we'll ramble.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
If we have an hour to be concise, we might be more focused.
You'll focus it down.
Let's just schedule that extra day this week so we can get Chris involved with Bruce and and yeah, James and Edo as well.
That sounds great. That sounds great. Yeah.
Buddy, yeah, of course, you're welcome to. But we're gonna get this. I really want to get Bruce and David and Chris together, and everybody else at once.
I think I might have been the first person to electrocute rocks, so I'm down.